Welcome to the Chalkboard Menu. I'm your host, Patricia Borgart. Today we'll be in the Puget Sound of Washington State in Indianola with farmer Rebecca Slattery at Persephone Farm. And then we'll be on Bainbridge Island at Four Swallows Restaurant with Chef Geraldine Ferraro. And we are going to have some fun with mega snap peas. Let's go. We're in Indianola, Washington at Persephone Farm with farmer Rebecca Slattery, and she's going to talk to us about peas.
Hi, thanks for coming. So we're going to take a look today at several different kinds of peas. We're going to look at mega, which is an old-fashioned snap pea. We're also going to look at green arrow, which is an English pea or shelling pea, and we might take a look at some sweet pea flowers too.
Excellent. Now, what's the advantage to mixing up the crops the way you have them here?
There's a lot of advantages to mixing things up. I mean, there's the whole idea of companion planting. Crop rotation is really important to us, trying to break disease and insect cycles because our practices are organic here. I also personally believe that by mixing things up, allowing some certain amounts of weeds to be in here, that it is confusing for insects, that they're usually attracted by smell. And if you have a lot of information going on, that as opposed to a more monoculture, perfectly weeded sort of farm, that you actually have less insect pressure. Companion plants means plants that might have some kind of symbiotic relationship with each other. Like peas, for instance, are a nitrogen fixer. They make little nodules in their roots, which as you harvest them, slough off in the soil and are free available nitrogen, which is the most soluble and most expensive fertilizer that a farmer has to add. These are the nodules, and this is nitrogen fixation. So in the end, when you turned this in, this would all be reincorporated into the soil, or even if you rip the vines out, some amount of this would slough off and stay in the soil. So this is why in the Midwest they do the corn-soybean rotations, corn, soybeans, corn, soybean, because soybeans are also a legume, a nitrogen fixer. Corn is a super high nitrogen needer, so to do those in rotation, the soybean is feeding the succession plant, the corn.
And when you're saying turn it in, that's when you go in and you're tilling the soil after that crop is all done, and you're just kind of turning the soil around again.
Exactly. So the most common variety of snap pea that most people are familiar with is the sugar snap. That is just one kind of snap pea. Mega is another, Cascadia is another, sugar sprint, sugar Ann. There's lots of different varieties.
When you're saying they're old-fashioned, you mean that they're just not the common thing you would find when you went out and bought seeds right now?
Right, you can't even buy the seeds for this. So we have interested one of our favorite seed companies in growing this out. They've been doing it for several years amidst different crop failures and stuff, so that eventually in the next few years they're going to be able to offer this in their catalog.
Can we take a look inside at those seeds?
Yeah, but these you eat the whole pod. Yum. But you can see how fat and delicious they are. But the crunchy edible pod is what is special about this.
And those, the actual, what we think of as peas, that's actually the seed that you're going to dry and save and replant to start more.
Exactly, yeah. Further down this row, these are the green arrow. So these are the shell peas, also known as English peas. Shelling peas. And so this type of pea, you don't eat the pod. The pod is very fibrous and bad, but you eat just the peas inside. So if you ever had, don't mind if we do. So if you ever buy frozen peas at the store or canned peas, that's what these are, English shelling peas, taken out.
And significantly less sweet. They're still really tasty, but the others were so much sweeter with the flavor.
Sweeter, but doesn't this have such a concentrated, delicious pea flavor?
The little pea shoots here, are those edible as well?
Yes and no. Pea shoots or pea vines is another kind of specialty vegetable that we grow quite a bit of. But a common question that we get is it just the top, as you're saying, of the pea plant? And the answer is no. When we grow the pea vines, we grow a whole several different separate varieties, not these varieties. And if you tried to raid the tops of peas that you were growing for peas, you would really thwart their production. It would be not good. And plus, these would be so fibrous and terrible. You would never do it. So if you were wanting to grow pea shoots, you'd have just those seeded and you'd harvest it just for that. And then as that harvest was wrapping up and they were starting to become fibrous, they'd make these beautiful purple on purple, usually, flowers that are edible, but that's not to be confused over here in the next bed. Those are sweet pea flowers, which look quite the same, different, showier, but those are grown just for bouquets, and the seeds definitely, and I believe the blooms also are poisonous, so not to be mixed up.
Rebecca, thank you so much for the time today. This has been an amazing lesson about peas. And now we're going to head over to Bainbridge Island to Four Swallows Restaurant, where Chef Geraldine Ferraro is going to cook up some fabulous things with Mega Snap peas. I'm at the Hillman City Collaboratory Community Garden, and 2.5 months ago, this was just your typical empty urban lot, trash and weeds. Now the fence is gone, the gate is open, and the greens are growing. It's a point of pride for an entire neighborhood. We had an opportunity to be part of the original work party and talk to Rachel Tefft about the whole idea. Let's take a look back at that.
We're looking at this as really a living space that can continue to change to meet the needs of the community, to meet the needs of the people who are working in the collaboratory, and anyone else who wants to be involved. Some of the projects that we're working on and eventually plan to complete is to have a hen house for retired hens, to grow as much food as we can, to integrate that into the community meals that will be happening in the collaboratory. We're also providing a space for music and art. In the summer we'll have monthly bazaars here that'll feature local artists to get more involvement in this location. That'll be outside in the garden. We're also working with Cascadia Green Building Coalition to make this into a living space or a green building. And there's quite a few steps that we have, but we're starting a campaign in the next couple of weeks to bring in interest with architects nationally to get them involved in the project. So more to come on that, but it's quite an exciting thing to be involved in. Really great people. And super thankful for all these volunteers. This is awesome.
With a little bit of community involvement and love, every street corner can be this beautiful. Visit us at thechalkboardmenu.com or on Facebook and let us know what's going on in your neighborhood. We're at Four Swallows Restaurant on Bainbridge Island, Washington with Chef Geraldine Ferraro. Jerry, what are you going to make for us with Rebecca's Snap Peas?
We're going to use 3 different kinds of Rebecca's peas with potato gnocchi and fresh ricotta cheese.
Fabulous. I can't wait for you to show us.
Okay, let's head in the kitchen. We're going to start with the ricotta, and it's the easiest cheese to make, and it's really fun if you've never made cheese before because it's so simple. It's really hard to screw it up. I'm starting with 8 cups of milk, 1 cup of heavy cream, 1 cup of buttermilk, 2 teaspoons of kosher salt, and 1.5 tablespoons of champagne vinegar. So what we're going to do is bring this up to temperature on low heat. And when I say temperature, I mean to bring it up to a simmer. And it takes almost an hour for it to come up.
So really long,
really
slow
low.
heat.
And then what'll happen is it'll start to separate into curds and whey. And then we'll skim it off and drain it for a half an hour, and it'll be ready to go. We're gonna go ahead and start the gnocchi. And I've got 3 potatoes that I've baked. Wash them, poke about 8 holes in them. And I have this one trick that I like to do. I cut them in half, and they're very hot. And a lot of people will peel them, but I found that you can just put the potato in, cut side down, go ahead and rice it. So we rice the potatoes, and then we're gonna let them sit for about 5 minutes or so just to cool off a little bit. So I'm gonna weigh this out to 1 pound. Okay, so we've got 1 pound of potato, rice potato. I'm gonna just fluff it up a little bit. I'm gonna add my salt, which is 1 teaspoon, 1 egg, and then I'm gonna add 4 ounces of flour, sifted.
So you want to make sure there's no lumps coming in from that flour.
Exactly.
And it looks like you're not over mixing, you're just trying to get it generally
Exactly.
blended in.
Yeah, I'm going to mix it, and when it starts to come together, I'll knead it for just a minute or two, and then we'll roll it out and cut it and form them. Okay. All right. So I'm going to cut this into maybe 4 pieces. That's about right. The trick is getting them all the same size.
So handmade, but looking very uniform.
Mm-hmm, exactly. As even as you can. It's not always that easy. So what we're going to do is just roll them along the board to create that ridge, which helps the sauce cling, which is really nice. So just kind of...
Because it's really all about the sauce.
Yeah. Well, the gnocchi are pretty good too. But this is really fun because you get this little, you want to get that little indentation with your thumb, and then you roll it and get the ridges on one side.
And that's pretty much all this tool does, is just make gnocchi ridges.
That's all it does.
Those come out really cute.
Yeah, they're cute. It's fun to make them just for 2 or 4 people because it doesn't take that long, and it doesn't make a huge mess, but it's a little more challenging making it in a restaurant when you're making, enough for 25 people. We're going to chill them for about a half an hour, and then we boil them.
Okay.
Let's get these going.
When they come up off the bottom, they kind of bounce around for a while. You're waiting until they're really up there and floating solidly
You
before
want them
pull
firm, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and chill these. And they're going to take about an hour to chill before you can actually saute them up, otherwise they'll fall apart.
Okay.
See how our cheese is doing.
It's really got a thick skin on it now. And it has that look like it's starting to separate.
Yeah. It's not quite there yet, but the whey should be clear. If
Okay.
it's still milky looking, it's not done yet. When the whey is clear, you know it's done. And then we shut it off and let it sit for 20 minutes, and then drain for 20. We've brought this up to a simmered for about an hour, let it sit for 20 minutes, and now I'm going to strain it right into cheesecloth.
All right, so cheesecloth and also a colander under that.
Right, and you want to scoop it out. You don't want to pour it because you're going to lose. It's gonna screw up the texture. Very gently.
Oh, I see. If you were pouring over, it would really break that up.
It breaks it up, exactly. Okay, Patricia, before we go on with the recipe, would you like to try the ricotta?
I would love to.
Okay, great.
Oh, that is beautiful. And you can see the pattern from the cheesecloth where it's strained out. We just dig in?
Go ahead. Yeah, go right ahead. That's a good batch.
That is really good.
First thing we're going to do is brown the gnocchi in a little brown butter.
This butter is great for everything.
Yes, it sure is.
How long does that take to brown?
That's going to take about 3.5, 4 minutes. And I'm going to have the pan nice and warm so that the gnocchi does not stick. And while that's working, I'll start the peas. I'm going to add a little bit of water.
And that helps them steam while they're
Yeah, it
cooking?
helps them steam, and that way we won't get any color on them because we don't want to. Little peas. Start with those. A little salt. Salt and pepper in the gnocchi. They're going to take a few minutes to get nice and brown, and in the meantime, we'll get the peas working.
The shelling peas are going to take a little longer than our snap peas to cook.
That's right. So start with those, and then we'll add the shelling peas, or the sugar snap peas, and then we'll add the pea vines last.
Excellent.
Okay.
And you've opened those up so that we get to see the inside
Yeah,
as well, but the shell is edible.
The shell is edible, and we like to open them up. I just think they look so much prettier than if you just leave them closed. So it's just a really nice presentation to do them that way. This is starting to look really nice. We're just trying to get a little bit of color on these. Just a little bit of shallot.
So just at the end to get a little warm and flavor up the oil?
Yeah. Okay.
Peas right up on top.
Right.
So no brown color on those, just enough to soften them a bit.
Exactly. So just a tiny bit more brown butter in here. We'll throw the pea vines in. Let them wilt just slightly. And then I'll top with some ricotta cheese, Parmesan, a little lemon zest.
For a little acidity and color?
Yes.
Beautiful.
And pea vines. And then we'll top it with some sea salt.
And that's a special salt that you brought in?
It is. It's Jacobson sea salt from Oregon.
Nice. I can't wait to try this. I love how they still pop. They're so fresh. Snap in the snap peas. That's fabulous. I don't think I can top that, but we're gonna take snap peas home and we're gonna go play with them in a home kitchen and see what we can get there. Welcome into my kitchen. Now that we've got our mega snap peas from Rebecca at Persephone Farm, we're gonna do a really quick, easy entree with them. We're gonna use a wok and do a quick fry on the chicken and our snap peas, little touch of garlic, dinner in no time. We're gonna snip off the tops. Everything on here is edible. You don't have to break those off. Remember, we were just munching on those with Rebecca out in the field. So we're just gonna get a few of these prepped. I'm gonna do a nice diagonal slice. Bite size. The key to the wok is that you want things to be small and thin so they cook really fast. I've got breast that's already sliced pretty thin. I'm gonna take a few pieces and just make sure that those are in even smaller little ribbons. Fast and easy is what we're looking for with the chicken. I'm using sesame oil. You can use whatever oil is your favorite, but it should be able to take a high temperature with a low smoke point. We're gonna put some garlic in with that. Easiest way to get your skins off the garlic, use the flat of your knife and the heel of your hand. Pop that down just like that. And then we're just gonna do a really fine mince on that. And once you've got your garlic all minced up, we're gonna throw that into the oil so that you've got a nice flavoring of the oil going in that'll penetrate everything else that we're gonna cook. Now we're gonna add in our chicken. That hiss and sizzle right away, that's what you want. The whole idea of a wok is that we're gonna cook really fast, high heat. It's a great way to lock in nutrition. You're not overcooking things. Your veggies stay al dente. So a little toothsome little bite to them when you're in your mouth. And our peas don't take very long. So we're gonna wait until that chicken is about halfway done. So I'm gonna add in my snap peas. A little bit of water with those, just going to help them steam up a little bit. Just going to add a little bit of seasoning. This is one of those mixes where it's a no salt seasoning that's great for steaks, chickens, veggies, whatever you happen to have. A little black pepper and just a touch of salt. We're just waiting for the last of our chicken to cook all the way through. You'll know that it's done when the pink is gone. All right, that's it. We're done. And if you wanted to put that on a bed of rice, you'd have one dish wonder. Dinner's all ready to go. Now just across the top, I'm gonna add a little bit of basil. I've got some basil leaves. We're gonna do a chiffonade on those, so just little stripes. little ribbon strips, and then we cut them crossways. You just want a little bite of basil flavor coming out in there, just across the top. And we're gonna snip off a couple of whole basil leaves, just so we've got a little pretty garnish right there. And that's it, dinner's ready to go. And we're gonna do a really quick and easy salad. This is the way we got them, right out of the field, and as you remember, we can absolutely eat them ready to go, just like that, fabulous and fresh. Not everybody likes fresh vegetables though, so I'm gonna do a quick blanch on these, and I'm gonna start by pinching off the ends. A lot of times you'll get a little zip line that comes off there. So we're just gonna prep those. If you get that little zip line, great. That goes to the side. They're perfectly edible. You can leave those as they are. Whole and ready, just like this. I'm gonna throw them into some hot water just to blanch. Those are just gonna take about 3 or 4 minutes. The beauty of blanching is that it locks in all that fresh flavor and color. You can keep in the refrigerator for a couple of days once they're blanched. While those are going, we're gonna do the rest of our prep for our salad. We're gonna start with some beautiful fresh strawberries. Just gonna cut out the hull right on the top. A couple of ways you can do this. Just with a knife, you just take that little hull off. Another fun little trick is you take a straw right up through the bottom, and you can just punch that hull out right at the other end. You just pull it right off, and the rest of that just comes off with the straw. We're just gonna cut those into pretty little slices, just like that. I've got some ready to go already, but I'm cutting those long ways. They lay on the plate nicely. Our next ingredient is some fresh mint. Just pulled that off the plant outside. I'm gonna start with a chiffonade, those little ribbon cuts. Because what I want on this is just little fine pieces that give you just a burst of mint flavor as you go, but not overwhelming. So once you've got your ribbons, turn them the other way. And then we're just gonna make little tiny pieces out of those. That's all of our prep. We're gonna go get our peas out of their boiling water here. All right, I'm gonna drain these off. Then I'm gonna pop them right into some ice water. That immediately stops that cooking process. We're not overcooking at all. We're not getting any kind of loss of color or gray. We're getting actually a little bit more vibrant kind of green out of those. Now we're gonna just line those little guys up and do a pretty angled cut. And if you want bigger pieces, smaller pieces, we could even just do these in halves or thirds. For our plating, we're gonna start with our beautiful little strawberries. Just line those around, get them with that ripe side up. These are so ready to go. They're just soft and luscious. Get all that beautiful red. To that, we're gonna add our little peas. You can see them on the inside, popping out, ready to just pop flavor right into your mouth. Tiny bits of mint. You just want to sprinkle that over the top. You want to get little bursts of mint in there. Shouldn't be a dominant flavor. And I'm using a balsamic glaze. Balsamic glazes are really easy to make. It's just concentrating down balsamic vinegar, a little water, a little sugar. I'm going to add a little drizzle like that. And that's it. We've got our garlic, basil, chicken, peas, entree ready to go. Put it on top of rice and you've got a one-dish wonder for dinner. Add to that the salad we made with our strawberries, peas, mint, and balsamic glaze. Everything's here ready to go. But go out and try those fabulous things that you see at the farmer's market. Buying local, buying fresh, it's easy and it's fun.